Hey, welcome back to Hair Love Radio. I'm your co-host, Corey Gray. I'm the host of the Your Day Off podcast at Hairdustry. Definitely give us a follow at Hairdustry on Instagram or YouTube or wherever you want to find us. Listen, I'm really excited about co-hosting. When Elizabeth reached out to me and asked if I would co-host a few episodes, I was in like Flynn, man. I absolutely adore Elizabeth. I absolutely adore Hair Love University. I think it's amazing that we have a coach that's that's standing up for the industry, for what I would argue would be what the industry needs. She kind of changed my life in a weird way, her and Derek, because they introduced me to therapeutic breath work, which is absolutely game changing for me. To me, it felt like 10 years of therapy in like an hour, whatever, however long it is. The weird thing about breath work is you have no idea how long you're under, because time doesn't matter in those moments. However, I guess it's going to be about an hour. It was about an hour and it changed everything. There was so much healing in that 1 hour. Like, wait, I'm not suggesting you don't go to therapy, by the way, but add breath work into your therapeutic breath work into your routine. It's absolutely game changing for me. For me, I realized that my ego was a little bit too loud in my life. So the breath work allowed me to have a real honest conversation with my ego. First off, even being able to refer to your ego as third person, that all happened during breath work, and it keeps me a little bit disconnected from it. But that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. Today, I am super stoked to talk to a dear friend of mine, and I was excited that she was able to do the podcast. Today on the podcast, we're going to talk to Ambrosia Carey. So everybody, well, a couple things. Ambrosia's amazing in her own right as well. Once again, a great coach, a great friend. You should hear our conversations. They told us we had to stay under 30 or 40 minutes, and I don't think we've ever been on the phone for under 30 or 40 minutes. So, she's my great friend, Ambrosia Carey, and we have some deep, tearful conversations, but also we're good friends because I think we kind of hold each other accountable. Like, so Ambrosia, in a weird way, is one of my accountability friends who I absolutely need in my life. So let's give a welcome to Ambrosia Carey.
Yay.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, Corey. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on. And it's an honor to hang out. I accept your challenge of keeping this under an hour, because you're right. We talk, and when we start talking, time exists.
It's like the breath work, right? It's like we're doing our own therapy session. It's like the breath work there.
We totally are. We become each other's therapists for sure.
It's amazing. But you know what? I completely appreciate that too. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I'm so happy with the friendships that I'm bringing in now into my life, because we have no history of trauma, right? You and I together. So like, you can give it to me straight. And I don't think 30 years ago, like, when you stabbed me in the back, or when I felt like you stabbed me in the back or whatever. And also, like, I'm at a position now in my seeking of people that I'm not bringing anyone in my life that doesn't serve me. And I mean that fully. If you're not serving me, not in an ego kind of way, but if you're not a positive mentor or someone that I can rely on for that positive, I just don't have space for you. I don't have space for that, because I've been dealing with that all my whole life.
I think that's beautiful. I really hope that people feel that way sooner on in life rather than later, because I think that is kind of one of the things that happens as we do season in life. Like, as we get older, we start to realize like the things that actually do matter, the relationships that matter, because I think what we feed is also what continues to grow or not grow. I think in my earlier years when I was younger, I would feed a lot of energy into the acceptance or the likability, or just like these things that were kind of manufactured in my brain. Then when I just started to say, how do I feel when I'm around that person? It's that simple. How do I feel when I'm around that person? Then things started to shift for me too. And I think that was an expression of self-love. I think that was my very first expression of self-love. And then even though like you said earlier, we haven't really dealt with any like major traumas in our life, but there are things that we hold on to that we can carry into our adult lives that don't serve us. And that would be one of them. So that's beautiful. I'm so glad that you're an advocate of that. And I think it's something that more people should scream from the rooftop, because I think that's something that everyone should hold themselves as standard to.
I agree. Obviously I agree, but it's like, my partner Katie and I, like, we don't have like our relationship has only been like business relationship, and it's so nice because it's not, again, there's not, when we have when we're holding each other accountable, we'll say, right, when we're holding each other accountable, there's nothing other than that. And then it forces me, and I like to think too, like, I'm more mature in these conversations as well, but it just kind of
Yeah.
forces me to be like, okay, have a different perspective outside of, again, outside of my ego, outside of whatever is making me fight on this hilltop, and it makes the fight a little bit, I don't have to dig in so much, and then hear from different voices, you know. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
beautiful, man. I absolutely love the friendships that I've acquired over the last, 5 or 10 years, because there's just different rules now, you know.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it does. It changes things for sure.
Yeah, love it. Not so much boundaries, but it's a boundary, right? I just hate that word boundary, you know.
I know it's really used a lot, isn't it? But it's used because I think a lot of people don't know how to claim their own boundaries, or they don't know how to place boundaries really for themselves. I think boundaries has been kind of like misinterpreted or used in wrong forms, maybe. I mean, I think when I was younger, I kind of misused boundaries a little bit. Like, I thought it was a boundary that I was placing to protect myself, but really what I needed to do was create a boundary around myself from the things, the actions that I was doing constantly, that things I was actually giving permission to, things that I was not really aware that I was allowing myself to do, like, extending past my time, or being on my device longer than I said I was going to, or it's all those little tiny promises. It's kind of like all relationships. If you get little micro tears in those relationships, eventually it's going to collapse or break. So if you don't hold yourself to that standard or whatever, that's when we get burnout. That's when we start to have our meltdowns and feel disconnected from things. So I think boundaries that's probably the reason why it gives a little bit of the ick or the cringe a little bit, because we use that word a lot, but most of the time we don't hold ourselves accountable to those boundaries. And then when we really start to ask ourselves, like, is this something that I'm doing for myself or for others? Is this something that is serving me? And did I say that this was something that I wanted to do? Or, I think that boundaries can be that simple, but they're so complicated because we add so many other layers onto it. And I really, when I think of boundaries, I think of the very things that I promised to myself that I would or would not do, and I need to hold myself accountable to those things.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right on, in the sense that, here's how I'm interpreting it too, is that it's very easy to point the fingers at somebody else. Like, I'm creating a boundary against you, but you haven't done the work to create your own boundaries to what you're going to allow yourself to do, or how you're going to show up. You know, so like,
Yeah.
if you're kind of like, if you're not responsible to yourself, it's not really a boundary that you're removing. Anyways, that's just my experience. Hey, you know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time to get happy or get snappy. Are
Oh
we snappy?
no, not that get happy, get snappy.
It's get happy, get snappy time.
Okay. What are we doing for this?
Get happy, well. Tell us something. Tell us something unique about you, special about you. Tell us. Tell us something quirky.
I don't have a lot of quirky things about me. I was trying to think of things about it. I was like, gosh, what is unique about me? I think I have like a closeted version of myself that I don't really let out very often. Corey, you know about it. You
I
have that
do.
look of shock on your face. You're like, what are you closeting here? I come across as somebody who takes life very seriously. And I take certain things seriously. I take my friendship seriously. I take what I do in my business seriously, because it's what pulls me away from, the things that it pulls me away from the rest of my life. So obviously I'm going to take that part seriously, but I don't actually take life very seriously. And the quirky part about me, or the closeted side of me, I should say, is spirituality is very important to me. And I just don't talk about it vocally. And I think it should be preserved, and it should be something special that we hold to ourselves. Because if we share all parts of ourselves with everyone, then what do we get to have that's like special or sacred, I guess? Meditation is a really big thing for me. I've studied all types of religions throughout my entire life. I have religion curiosity, but I think of all the practices and all the studies and all the temples and churches and everything I've been surrounded by. I mean, I went to a Catholic church. My dad is a priest, a minister for a Lutheran church. I think being surrounded by that, and I come from a Buddhist family, I am somebody who I've learned throughout my life so far, and I continue to have this curiosity about it, to learn more, that it's all the same. It's all about love. We get what we project. And so my intention is always to walk through things with as much love as possible. And that also continues with self-love too. I just don't talk about it. It's just something that's a big part of me that I've kind of closeted, but now here we are. I'm coming
Chatting it up.
out of the closet, folks.
She's coming on out there. Hey, you know what? Here's a good segue is that for those of you that know and for those of you that don't know, I just spent 16 days in Cambodia doing HairAid project. And the HairAid project is a project where hairdressers from around the world gather, and then we help train people that are in critical poverty with the idea that those people have options in their future. And the one thing about once you visit critical poverty, you understand that the only thing that they're missing a lot of the times is just opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's it. So it's a really, really worthy project. Cambodia is filled with people in critical poverty. Cambodia is a very interesting country because it's very, very ancient and it's very, very new all at the same time. They haven't had an established government they've only had an established government since 1998. So it's both a very new country and a very ancient one as well. And so a couple months before I went, I had a conversation with Light Watkins, who is a meditation coach. I think he's Meghan Markle's meditation coach. And I asked him, because the first time I was traveling alone, I asked him for some advice about like, can you give me advice for traveling alone? And the advice that he gave me, I think about literally every day because I don't think it's necessarily exclusive to travel, but I think it's great life advice as well. And that was this. He said, when you're traveling, you're going to be on two journeys. There's the journey that you plan, the airplanes, the hotels, the excursions, everything that's on the schedule. And he says, but the real journey that you're on and the one that the universe needs from you, the one that the spiritual gods need from you, the other journey that you're on is the one that happens between those plans. And a lot of time it feels like stress. And he said, what I tell you is to stay present. That's what he told me. I think it's an incredible advice. Here's what I didn't realize what present equaled. Presence equaled surrender.
Yeah.
And it was a moment of surrender, every single day while I was there. It was surrendering again to my ego, not to my ego, but surrendering my ego. It was surrendering what I knew. It was surrendering like every belief system that I kind of brought there. I was forced to kind of look at, and within that surrender was absolutely the best trip I've ever taken because it's with beautiful people and to be able to see people as beautiful people. And it was remarkable in that sense.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. I just haven't had a chance to really talk to you about your experience in Cambodia, but I love that explanation. I love that just the idea of being present has to go beyond the idea because I think we hear that too. And it's like, well, what does it actually mean to be present? So that was a really great explanation. That's cool. I love hearing that. So tell me a little bit more about.
Well, I mean, even to talk about presence for a second, it's like for 10
Yeah.
years, for 10 years, at least I've been like, gosh, man, I just wish I was more present, not
Yeah.
understanding that it was surrender, right? Like that's what it is. To me, that's what it is. It's just surrendering to the moment. And it's surrendering to like when I'm hanging out with the family to surrender to not pick the phone up, it's surrender to, I guess that isn't really surrender. That might be more of a boundary kind of thing now that I think about it, but just kind of being able to create that separation or surrendering to like, okay, I'm with the family. This is family time, or this is
Yeah.
whatever, but it kind of gave me the ability to do that. And I'm holding on to it like heck. We'll see where we are in 6 months. But, since I've been back, it's been really good to kind of like just be in the room, so to speak, all the time.
Yeah.
Whatever room I'm in. So anyways, that was kind of my beauty of the entire experience. There's 1,000 like ones in every day. Like I said, there was an experience every day that I could practice surrender or practice presence. It's also interesting too. Like I was thinking about this when I was over there. Like I talk a big game. You know what I mean? Like I talk a game about surrender, about presence, about who I am and who I want to be. But it's only in those moments. It's only in those in between moments that where the test lies, and if you fail in those things, were you really about it or were you just talking about it? And when I talk about it, I'm dead serious about it, but until you're tested, there's no, how serious are you?
Yeah, right. That makes sense. I mean, I think we are inundated with so many things, so many different tasks, like clicking on and back and forth to things. And it's such a normalized experience that it's hard to practice the art of being present. And I think you're right. When you actually put yourself in a situation that you allow yourself to be present like that, it makes you exercise, I think, a different side of your brain. I'm also learning a little bit more about how the brain even operates and works, because that's something that's very curious to me, because I think we trust what thoughts enter our brain a little bit too much. And the more information we have or don't have about something, we can create the narratives around that particular topic or story or belief. And once we have more information or we don't have enough information, then we're going to create those beliefs around it. So I think I've been learning as I've gotten older too, that we should not just listen to the thoughts that are into our head, that there has to be this gut instinctual thing. And I think learning that we have different intelligences within our whole body system, it's not just in our head, that's like a newer phenomenon for me. And I know this is not an unknown thing. Like, there are people that know so much more about this and talk about it. But when I think about being present, I think about that, not what's going on in my head, what thoughts are entering my brain. It's more like, how am I feeling right now? And listening to more of the gut intelligence and my heart intelligence. So I want to see that, is my heart and my gut, am I feeling aligned with things right now? Or am I being robbed by my own thoughts? Am I escaping into other things? Am I dwelling on the past or feeling anxious about the future? So present for me is just getting a little bit more charged with my gut and my head, or my heart, instead of just living in my head all the time.
I heard this great technique when it comes to that, and that was to name your mind. Right. So give it a different name, So like when you're having negative talk, when you're talking yourself down, as we all do, you just you name your mind and you go, listen, Betty, this isn't the time for that.
Betty.
I don't know. Betty seemed like a good one, but we all name our own. You know what I mean? So the name of my head is my dad's name, which is crazy because I would imagine that a lot of my negative talk comes from there, right? So I named it my dad, and then I'm
Whoa.
like, this isn't time. Yeah, yeah, and that's yeah, whatever. So yeah, so it's like, yeah, Betty, this isn't the time. Betty, you're not serving me anymore. And also, I start to understand that the thoughts that we have is just our mind, like processing information or processing stuff. So none of it's real, because it's like, like you see, like, I don't know, we can say any kind of influencer that's on a stage, right? And we're like, oh, they've done so much. Well, that's how we see our mind. But what we don't understand is the work that it took to get there, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's not the work that it took. And all your brain is doing that work to figure it out. So as messed up as you were to get there, that's also where your brain is constantly just like working it out. So you can like allegedly get there. I don't know. That's kind of the way that I
That's
think
so
about it.
true. It's so actually, this is kind of crazy, Corey. I'm reading this really great book right now about dopamine. Basically, it's called Dopamine Nation. And what fascinates me about it is that our brain does just that very thing, like the very little tiny particles of information that we have. It's almost like when you look up at the sky and you see these stars, you can create all kind of maps if you want to, but this is still something that our brain is etching out, it's creating. And every time you look at a different point in the stars, it could create something a little different. That's kind of what our brain does too. It's like it has little bits of information, and then there's a lot of information it doesn't have. So it starts to etch out a story or a hypothesis, because that's what we do as instinctual creatures. Like, we want to protect ourselves. So we need to fill in the gaps of what we think. And that's totally what we do when we see things, when we meet people, when we have first impressions, when we have, like, all those things are happening on a continual basis all the time. And I think slowing down that process a little bit and just realizing, like, oh, well, maybe I need to lead with a little bit more curiosity. Maybe I need to ask more questions. Maybe I need to dive a little bit deeper, just so that I can actually fill those blanks in. And part of doing that, I think, is the whole like old school practice of like the 2 ears, 1 mouth, like listening more and just leading with more curiosity, asking more questions, getting to know more information. The more information you have, then the more you can actually start to paint that picture a little bit more steady, I think.
Well,
Yeah.
this might be the world's worst segue, but I kind of think, and I'm very conscientious of it, like particularly now more than ever, is I don't consume anything that brings me down. I don't consume anything that doesn't fire me up. I don't consume anything that again, that doesn't serve me. I mean, I think the overall thing is like, what is serving me, what's not serving me, political stuff, either way, whether I
Yeah.
agree or disagree, that doesn't serve me, because even more like when I agree with it, now I've got to go tell somebody that I agree with it, you know what I mean? Which isn't serving me at all. And even like, I don't even like, gossip or just I what does my wife say? Just to like get it off your chest by talking about it. I don't even agree with that, because I think what it does is it festers your own belief system. And I fester, like, you never feel bad. You never figure it out after that. You just like, you dig in a little deeper, after getting it off your chest. So I don't even play in that realm anymore either. Like, I just, it's got to serve me 100%, or I just don't consume it. And that includes people.
Yeah, you and I were talking about that a while back, and I think in a lot of ways, like between you and I talking about things, I think you really inspire me to start practicing that a little bit more. I think it's really
About
important, like
consumption.
energy itself, like the energy that we consume and the energy that we project. Who knows? Like if we have this filtration system basically, and we're letting a lot of pollutants in, then what is that doing to us? Like what kind of like toxic air are we breathing in if we allow those negative thoughts or energy in?
Mhm.
So I think self-love also can be a way of protecting your own energy and not letting all that negativity and the bad noise, because just as, I mean, that's the yin and yang of life. Like if we put that kind of energy into the negative, then the likely could be said that we could put that energy into the positive. And what would happen if we tip the scale and we don't have so much of that negativity, like we're feeding into that negativity? So I think that's beautiful that you just won't deal, you don't want to deal with that. You don't want to
Mhm.
let that energy in. Life is precious, time is precious. Our time here on this planet is so short lived, and I think in order for us to feel good, letting good things in, I mean, it's that simple, and allowing good things out is just going to be a better way of living. It's going to feel better, and it's going to be contagious. It's infectious. I think that's why I love having you as a friend. I love bouncing ideas off of you. I love coming to you when something is sitting with me, because I know this about you, and you live it. You don't just say it.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm trying to live it as much as I can. Do you know Sarah Blakely's husband, Jesse Eitzer? He changed my
No,
life.
no,
So
I don't.
Sarah Blakely, she's the woman that created Spanx. Like, every girl knows Spanx.
Yeah.
So her husband, Jesse Eitzer, who's almost like a motivational speaker at this point, but he brought up something that absolutely changed my life. And basically, this is it. It sounds morose, but it's not. It's actually the opposite of morose, as far as I'm concerned. Is that he says that, well, first off, I'm 56 years old. So the average male American dies at 76 years old, right? So there's no way around it. That's just the numbers, So, I'm playing to 76. So I've got 20 years left on Earth. That's it. I can think of 20 years ago, and as bright as today. So I've
Yeah.
got 20 years left on Earth. What am I going to do with that time? And
Right.
am I going to consume anything, or am I going to do anything that I'm not passionate about? And the answer is a flat out no. Like I don't have time, and it's where being selfish is very helpful. Because I'm a better person because I'm only doing stuff that I'm passionate about, and that allows me to wake up and show up every single day. As opposed to, like, feeling bad for myself or feeling bad for my situation. I will only do so. If you see me someplace, understand that I'm passionate about being there. I didn't just show up. You know,
Yeah,
I,
that's
I
cool.
want to be there. And it absolutely changed my life, because it puts everything into perspective. Doesn't mean that I've done it. There's stuff that I want to do, that there's something else in me that's keeping me from doing it. Like public speaking in a big way. Like I really, really want to do that, but there's something that's holding me back from that. And I'm trying to figure that deal out, but we'll see. We'll see.
Time is such a precious thing, and I think it's something that we're starting to maybe pay more attention to, I hope. I think that when people are saying like charge your worth or charge your value or whatever, when they're thinking about things in that context, they're also thinking of time. And time is one of our most precious commodities. It's a
It's
non-renewable resource.
it's our only resource. It's our only, for something that's a construct, it's
Yeah.
literally our only thing.
Right, exactly. We don't even know how long we have here, that's just assuming that we live to X amount of years. I also don't want to live thinking like, "Oh, I'm going to get there someday." I think living with purpose and intention also means doing the things that you feel like you feel like your purpose is here today. You're not waiting for it for someday, maybe I'll do that thing or get there. It's like, no, I'm going to make it happen now, because we don't know how much time we have on this planet. And I also think that goes with everything else, like the whole positive negative conversation that you just had about only allowing positive thoughts in and out. That time, because it's so precious, like we need to treat it with a little bit more love and more preciousness. And I think I think the minute you start doing that, or at least for me, I can only speak for myself really, the more that I started doing that, the more I started to feel like I could untangle myself from the attachments that I have. Like, cause I have this crazy attachment style to the work that I do, my accolades, and I have to be relevant, and I need people to need me. And that's a really vulnerable place to be. And it's also, guess what? It's something that you can't ever turn off. Like, it's an unsatiable appetite. It's kind of like the whole dopamine thing I was talking about. And when you live for that, then you rely on others to feed that to you. So being able to feed yourself is like having that construct of understanding like what time is and what are you going to do with the time that you have. And instead of you waiting for something to happen or waiting for others to give it to you or waiting for the opportunity, it's like creating those opportunities for yourself. And also, it doesn't mean that it has to be something grand either. I think sometimes the smallest of things make the biggest of differences because we know that. Like kind of what you were just talking about earlier when somebody's on stage and you're like, okay, well, they got there by chance or luck or whatever. And it's like you can create your own stories about it. But more than likely, it was all the little small things that they were doing repetitively in time that actually got them there. I think we've seen enough examples of this that has happened with other people in their lives. So if we could just live that a little bit more, then I think we could untangle our own webs a little bit more too.
I love that. Ambrosia, how do you practice gratitude?
Well, sometimes I journal, sometimes I speak it out loud, but I think in general, searching for the same things all the time, it can become like this repetitive process. So I think gratitude is always going to be about perspective because to be grateful for something is to say that the opposite could be true, the opposite could happen. And we know that as I think that's one of the beautiful things about traveling and visiting places that don't have the same privileges that we have is being able to live through that gratitude, knowing that it could have been different. The chips could have fallen differently. I could not have had these opportunities if I was born in this nation. If I was born at a different time, if I was born in a different place. And also, gratitude is showing thankfulness for how you were able to be brought to the situation. So it's almost like paying homage to my ancestors that kind of got me here in this predicament to this place to begin with, because
Mhm.
I come from a long line of farmers, and they would work like 17-hour days and they only had enough money to survive. It's like they only had enough to resow their seeds for the crops for the season and to feed themselves. And that was about it. They didn't get to go on vacations. They didn't get to be worried about the troubles that we have the privilege of being worried about. So gratitude to me is paying respect to the ancestors that had to work their asses off to help me get to where I am today. So every little thing, you got to be grateful for everything, to be able to breathe fresh air, to have two hands that work, a healthy body functioning. Like there's all those things. And even small things too that happen throughout the day. It could be something as like, I'm so grateful that I can afford this really lovely espresso machine. I can have coffee in the morning the way I want it. And I could use the milk that I want. It's like, there's so many things in our lives that we can be grateful for, but I think our survival instincts are always going to combat us and they're going to tell us lies that like, well, we could have more though, and so I think living through gratitude gets us again out of that trap.
Well, it is a
And
dichotomy,
yeah,
right? Because I mean, through the human experience, like we want to look forward. I mean, the reason that you were given the opportunities that you were is because somebody in your past kind of looked forward to like what their idea of a better life was. But gratitude lives behind you. Gratitude lives for, what has been accomplished for you and that you're benefiting from it. I mean, it's the ultimate expression of privilege, right? Like you were given that privilege because of somebody ahead of you, did the work
yeah,
for that. And whether it's to be in this country, whether it's to be whatever work you were afforded, whatever that was, like gratitude is looking backwards. But we also, and certainly once you have kids and stuff, you're looking a little bit more forward. How can my kids do a little bit better as well, and being responsible for that space that you're in as well. Yeah, I mean, I again being in Cambodia, I had a different understanding of not a different. I had a deeper understanding of what gratitude was. Standing at some of the temples, you've been to the temples, they are all inspiring.
yeah,
As you're sitting there at the base of it, or like when I was standing atop of Angkor Wat, which is the largest religious temple in the world that was built 1,000 years ago, Ambrosia, as you're kind of visiting those kind of just remarkable places, I was just, there's no way I should be there. And I was really grateful that hairdressing brought me there. Because had my path been different and I've been a car mechanic, I don't really see, being a car mechanic taking you there. But hairdressing took me there. Hairdressing has taken me around the world, which I never thought possible. I've always had this wanderlust kind of thing in my life, but I just didn't know how to do it. And I, again, I get tearful kind of thinking like the opportunities that I've had from, hairdressing and where it's taken me. And just, I think some of it, it's hairdressing, but it's also having your eyes open for opportunity as well, which is important. But the more the more settled I get in myself, I feel like the opportunities are coming up more and more often. Or, maybe it's the secret. Maybe I'm letting the universe know that these are the kind of opportunities that I want, and now the universe is opening them up to me. So, I
Isn't
mean,
that cool?
it's very cool. It's very
That's
cool. And
amazing.
again, 10 or 15 years ago, I would have went, like none of that's
Yeah.
really true. You know what I mean? But at this point in my life, it all feels very true. It all feels like nothing is an accident.
Yeah. Well, and it's also cool because it's like, I think when you start to change your mentality around it I think the more opportunities that come forward through that thought process, that does become contagious in its own way too. So I don't know. Don't knock it till you try it, I guess, right? It's
Right.
like all the good stuff happens when that intention is set forward and you can project those things. You just put it out in the universe and I think we have enough evidence that, whether it's manifestation or law of attraction or whatever category you want to put it in, if you're not woo woo or if you are woo woo, I think there's something to it. And it comes back to the energy that we were just talking about. So, yeah, I think it's like you're a living proof of that.
Yeah, yeah, listen, I feel it. I'm like grateful for it. Like there was not a time my entire trip in Cambodia, even really since I've been home, where I didn't get emotional kind of thinking about, oh, I'm here, and I also, I feel a great responsibility to show up in a positive light for hairdressers as well. Like I feel that pressure. Like, it's not, I don't know why I feel that pressure, but I do, because I think we can do so much good in the world. I mean, we're on this podcast here, and Elizabeth's tagline is hairdressers change the world. And I felt like, as opposed to taking what hairdressers can change your life, I kind of felt like I was in a position to change the world. Does that make sense? Like I was.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I think that's so beautiful. And I think if more people are able to be that type of leader, because that's leadership. I mean, just there is no other option. You are compelled to do it because that is your calling. And I think if more people step into leadership like that, then we can also, that's why hairdressers change the world, because we come in contact with so many different types of people and we are so closely like, what other job do we have where we can emotionally and physically connect with other people? I
And
can't
less of
think of
those
any.
jobs are going to be in the future, I think.
Yeah.
Like we have this. It's very interesting to me. You and I were talking a little bit about this earlier too. Is that there's more and more people that are leaving the industry, and
Yeah.
just from a dollars and cents kind of sense, like I would think, like I'm actually predicting that hairdressing may go up because it may be one of the few jobs that AI can't take. I think we're like in
Totally.
10 years, like, and maybe AI can. Maybe I'm completely wrong here. However, I think it'll be one of the last. If it does take it, I think we'll be one of the last jobs that are out there. And I would also think that the more and more that AI takes our jobs, the more and more human contact is going to be needed. And there's no better place than to be seen, heard, and awarded than when you sit in a hairdresser's chair.
I couldn't agree more. I feel like a lot. I mean, I've been listening to a ton of AI experts just because I'm curious, like what's happening on the other end. What people are predicting right now. And I think no better people than the ones who are kind of in the trenches. And I know there's this major war basically, and who is going to win this trillion-dollar contract, like who's going to be the ultimate agent. I mean, constantly I'm hearing that trades are going to be more valuable than ever because that is something that is not yet going to be taken over by AI is going to be taking the CEO role because their intelligence level is at 4,000 when a human's intelligence level can't even like crack 200.
And it lacks ego.
So I think, and those personal relationships too, like you were saying, like I think human to human contact is going to become more needed, more valuable, a more intricate design of what, is encrypted in us is like our fingerprint. That yes, AI may be injected in these robots and someday it will actually take other jobs, including our jobs. But it's kind of like anything else. Like we've got a huge spectrum in our industry where we have people who are, they're going to be at like those chop shops, they call them, right, where it's
Mhm.
kind of like the in and out, and you're not really, you're just kind of filling the chair. And then it goes all the way into luxury, the luxury end of things. So I do believe that no matter like our type of job or our career path, that there will be some people that could be a little bit at stake. And then, but a majority of us, I think those who really connect with clients and those who actually create those relationships, I don't see that being replaced. I don't see how that's possible to replace that.
I agree with you, but and I also think that may be a job title. It might be less balayage and like in haircuts, it might be more like of the personal contact.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
because I think what hairdressing does that almost nobody else does. I'm just saying this off the top of my head, so I could be completely wrong, and I'm okay to sit in that. But like, it's a positive space to go to. Like when you're
yeah,
seeing your therapist, yeah, it's positive tomorrow, but it sucks today. You know what I mean? Or you go to your doctor, it's not because, you're feeling awesome about yourself for
right,
the most part.
exactly, yeah,
You know what I mean? So it's a place that you can go like, every 4 to 6 weeks and really feel good about yourself. And again, the things that are never, ever, ever going to change and AI can never, ever take away is for a human to feel seen and heard. Since the moment we walked upright on earth, this has been the desire, to be seen and heard. And almost every like therapy session that you're ever in is just about that. So
yeah.
as hairdressers, if we can make sure that our clients are seen and heard. And, I have to remind myself of that all the time because at this point in my career, I've had the same, a lot of the same clients for like 30 years and stuff. So, it's a reminder that like, they're here paying for the service and it's not necessarily great coverage, right? Like
Yeah.
it's about being seen and heard. And I literally have to remind myself all the time that, that is also the service,
I think we also put so much pressure on ourselves as, with our career as hairstylists, that we have to be the best of the best at the service that we're doing. And the technical aspect is just like one part of it. And I think the connection that we have, kind of like what you were saying, you've got clients that have been sitting in your chair for 30 years. Those relationships is why they're coming back to you, is why they're choosing you. Because
Yeah.
there are plenty of people that do great hair around us. Like doing great hair is not the complicated side of it. It's like making that connection with that person that they choose you over and over again and they want to come back to you. And I think that's something that we need to almost give ourselves a little bit more gratitude toward as well, because I think when we lean into that side of it, then we start to put a little bit less pressure on the technical aspect of it and not make it about that. That's not, I mean, that is a trophy, that's a hat to hang on, but it's not the thing that makes you irreplaceable. It's not the thing that
Mhm.
makes clients come back to you. They come back to you over and over again because of who you are as a person. And that's not something that's easily replaced.
Don't you
So
feel
I
like
at least
too,
I
like
like to think that.
like when you're an expert at like whatever it is, whatever technique that you're working on, though, also like that's more for the other hairdressers that are in your life, like
Yeah.
when it comes down to like an individual like relationship that you have with a client, like I don't, they don't care so much about that. You know what I
It's
mean?
true. Yeah, and they don't really know either. They don't they just know if they feel good and they like it at the end of the day, that's all they really
That's
care
it.
about.
Again,
They're not going through with a ruler and making sure that everything is, it's not off by 1/16th of a centimeter on the left side or
sure,
something,
exactly.
you know?
I mean, where it does, I guess, competent hairdressing, is like how do the girlfriends make them feel after they leave, right? That's a big thing, right?
Yeah.
Like how do or how does her husband make them feel like when after they've had their hair done, that's a thing, and that's being able to extend that seen and heard a little bit further as well. Hey, listen, we got to shut this thing down, Ambrosia. We're just getting
I know.
warmed up. Like if we were on the phone now, man, we'd be going
There's
for
so
another
much
couple
more
of hours.
there's so much more we could talk about, but you're right.
Yeah,
We don't want to do one of those tangenty things where we try to contemplate everything that we've ever gone through in our lives.
I love it though, man. It's so great. It's so great having a friend like you that we can kind of do that. Just this time we're recording it. By the way, if you're listening in, this is exactly what Ambrosia and I's conversations sound like all the time.
Right. It's true.
Except it goes for hours and hours and hours. And what's crazy about it too, and this is a testament, I guess, to our friendship, is that it never feels like work. It just feels
No,
like we're
it never
talking.
does.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. Like, oh shit, we've been talking for 2 hours.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. So, I mean, I guess if I were just gonna, I know that we're trying to close this down, but if I were to impart something on anyone who's listening, and to me, it doesn't even matter if you're in the industry. I think this is just like a human condition, but I am speaking to the hairstylist because that's the world we know. That change, I was kind of talking about this at the very beginning before we started, that change is inevitable. Like you can't control change happening, but what you can control is how you want that change to be designed. And I think just allowing yourself and loving the change that is in front of you, leaning into that change, that there are going to be different responsibilities and different things that you're going to do in this career. And it's absolutely endless. You can turn on the faucet or turn it down as much as you want throughout your career. Permission is granted. Like, do everything that scares you, do everything that's fun to you. Lean on mentorship. If you feel like you're in a toxic environment, get out of it. Go to another place. There's lots of resources out there. There's lots of people that really care about this industry, that really want to see a thriving, flourishing industry and career path. So I just want to say that out loud, because I think, people feel that the place that they're in right now is going to be the place they're in forever. And that's just not the case.
That's really powerful stuff. So this is it, man. It's time to wrap it.
Let's do it.
We just did it. Hey, what do you think? What are the big takeaways from this conversation we just had? I mean, aside from just do it.
Takeaways, I think, is just like what actual gratitude and being present looks like, what you invite in, what you give permission to, how you set boundaries around the parts of your life that you want to preserve, how to love yourself a little bit more, have grace, not take life too seriously, and enjoy your career. And if you don't, then surround yourselves with other people that do, because that becomes contagious. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, that's all consumption there, right? Like all of it. Like
Easy peasy.
no problem. So then there's two more questions here. The first one I think we've answered over and over and over again, and that's how do you think hairstylists change the world? I mean, I think being active in it, I think for me, and certainly where I am in my life, hairdressers change the world is how you change the world, right? How are you showing up in this world, and what responsibility do you have? So it's not necessarily like, sitting back waiting for a hairstylist to change my world, but it's showing up so you can change the world. And that world could just be, again, one client at a time, or just being a positive role model in that sense, or a positive person in your own community. And then the other one too is, why does wellness matter? I think that's been the overall view of the entire podcast. It's all been about wellness. And again, I see it in my head. I don't know if I can articulate it right, but there's a time to be selfish. And when it comes to wellness, that's the time to be selfish, because how you show up on the other side of the work is better for everybody. It's selfish selflessness, or selflessness selfishness. Either way, I think it works. But to do the work, to whatever that work is, it could be a massage, but at the end of it, you show up different. And how do we hold that? At least that's my 2 cents. You got anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think wellness has to do with, what you put out is what you get back in. And that's where the selfless part is, because you could be doing something for selfish purposes. And let's be real, like, we're all selfish creatures. Like, we need to survive. So, I mean, even if we're giving charity, we're doing it to help other people out, but we are doing it to make ourselves feel good too. So, I mean, I think it's okay to be selfish, because if you're being selfish for a purpose, which is what wellness is about, then it becomes a trickle down effect. Like, you're impacting the lives of people around you, which kind of becomes the answer of how hairdressers change the world. And is also, if you are putting out well thoughts to others, then you are also receiving well thoughts back. And so I think taking care of other people, like sweeping your side of the street, taking care of other people, it also invites other people to take care of you too. And it feels good. So I think wellness, I mean, it gets you out of this like spin out mode where you're no longer stuck in the tornado anymore, that you feel stuck and helpless, or you hit burnout, or you think that you're alone. So anytime you start to feel that way, it's time to get up and start doing something for the goodness of yourself and for others. I mean, I really think that's what wellness is about.
Boom. I love that. Hey, listen, my name is Corey Gray. I'm the host of the Your Day Off podcast. You can find us on all your podcast outlets, or you can give us a follow. Certainly give us a follow on at Hairdressers. Ambrosia, where can people find you?
Ambrosia Carey everywhere. And
Carey with a C, right? C-A-R-E.
That sounds so bad. Yeah, at Ambrosia Carey, Instagram, podcast, all the things.
Yeah. They'll be in the show notes as well. Thank you for listening to Hair Love Radio. Definitely give us a tag. Listen, if you like Ambrosia and I, if you like this conversation, let Elizabeth know that she should bring us back on, and I'll co-host for Elizabeth anytime I can. So again, don't be afraid to DM the producers of this here podcast at Hair Love University. And guys, just thank you very much. And as always, I hair love you. That was supposed to be in unison. Ambrosia, you ready? Once again.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. I hair love you.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks
Ambrosia.
Hair Industry, and thank you, Hair Love.